Hi everybody, this is Rita Townsend and it's Friday afternoon. It's the 4th of July weekend. So, I think probably most of us are just ready to take a breather, hoping to share some information today with you all that I think you might find interesting, and I think that maybe it will help you sort out a few little things about what's going on in our world today. I'm going to tag a few of my friends. A lot of my friends are regular viewers, but some of them are new, and I always love that. And I always want to start out by telling you that I also have a couple of other pages I'd love to invite you to. But in the meantime, comment and share and let me know what you think about today's comments. And a little word of warning to you. Hi Jane, hi Chris, loyal listeners. But whether you're on, hi Annette, whether you're on live or not, please comment and share your thoughts on the replay, because my replay, it gets a lot of views. So let me know what you think about this information today, because I had to do some thinking about this when I put it together, because probably like you, I'm kind of like this in any given day on what I see happening in our world today, and I know we all have opinions. And I'm really going to avoid giving you my opinion today, but I'm going to give you some information. It's really hard to come into a holiday weekend, and it's such a tradition. It's all about our country and our freedoms and our founding fathers and everything we've done throughout our history to really create the most incredible free country in the world. And yet we are quarantined and locked down and restricted. And it goes against, for many, many, many of us, it goes against our very being. And so what I really wanted to share with you today is a little bit of where our rights and our freedoms have come from and how they stack up against some of the things that we're being asked to do today. And once again, I'm really not going to take a side on this, but I'm going to tell you some interesting history, because the minute I started looking into this, I was shocked and amazed. It really is so foundational. It comes back to the very founding nature of our country. But first, I'm going to share some really positive things. For a lot of you who work with me and a lot of you who follow me, I love Darren Daily, and it's so inspirational. Just 5 minutes in the morning to really give you a positive start. And today it really fits in with what I'm going to share with you, because he talked about, are you truly free? And it's really more about your attitude on how you express yourself. What do you express about yourself daily? Do you take advantage of the freedom that you have to inspire, empower, and to share your beliefs with other people, or are you divisive? Do you utilize your personal skills to share positivity? And are you watching and observing? And are you maximizing, and I love this part, are you maximizing your abundance? Or are you a captive in a prison of fear? So whether you're a slave to anxiety and misery, or whether you want to be free and express yourself and be free from the opinion of others, you need to only answer to yourself and your Creator. So happy Independence Day. So go out and express yourself. Now I'm going to get down to the law, which is interesting. So just by virtue of definition, these are a lot of terms that are thrown around a lot. There is a difference between quarantine and isolation. Quarantine is simply used to keep someone who might be exposed to COVID-19 away from others. That definition is coming from CDC. Quarantine helps prevent the spread of the disease that can occur unknowingly. Isolation is used to separate people infected with the virus from those who are sick with COVID-19 and those who have no symptoms. So there's a difference here between a quarantine and an isolation. So they both involve separation to protect the public, and they help limit the spread. But it needs to be and can be done voluntarily, or, and this is where we're getting into the law, required by the authorities. So in the last day or two, probably some of you have heard about the young people that are being exposed, who fortunately are not really sick, but they certainly have an opportunity to come in contact with other people who can be much more sick with it. So we're trying to be a little bit careful about this. But the laws and the rules and the restrictions are different in every state, and there is a legal premise for that. There's also a legal premise for shutting down businesses. Now, I understand all the ramifications of that, but I'm sharing with you. I was so surprised as to where this all originated. It all raises some very important legal questions, but here's where it came from. It literally dates back to congressional powers that were given in the Constitution, the original writing of the Constitution. The Constitution places strict limits on the federal government's power to quarantine individuals within a single state, though these limits do not apply to state officials. So maybe for some of you, like myself, have been really unsure and kind of conflicted about who has the governing authority here. The Constitution prohibits both federal and state governments from denying anyone life, liberty, or property without due process of the law. But the contours of this right to due process are not well defined. But the scope of the congressional powers go all the way back to the American constitutional history. And I want to tell you that what I'm giving you today is from a website that is just rich with information, and it's called the Bill of Rights Institute. And you might want to go there and read a little bit more if this piques your interest. But the Supreme Court, this law was actually written. Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson fought over how to read the clause, which is called this Commerce Clause. The Supreme Court spent 4 decades fighting over how the Commerce Clause should be used. And depending on the court has interpreted that many different ways over many years. But most of the interpretation now dates back to 1933, which was called the New Deal. The court's decision then routinely struck down federal laws as beyond Congress's power to regulate commerce, and the court recognized that Congress has a broad power to regulate travel across state lines. So even though these laws date really back to our beginning, they were initially for a different purpose, but they are applied now for our purposes. And the Center for Disease Control says this: the federal government derives its authority for isolation and quarantine from the Commerce Clause of the U.S. Constitution, which permits Congress to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among states. This goes on, it's pretty lengthy. It has a lot of analysis of different courts. Hey, Kara, happy Friday afternoon. She's off. It actually has interpreted it loosely or more strictly over the years, and it goes into a lot of discussion about that. But here's a really good summary. There is no freestanding constitutional right to go about your normal life while an epidemic endangers many people's lives. At the same time, the government cannot simply confine people for arbitrary reasons or without providing an adequate explanation. So you see where I'm going with this? From the very beginning, we needed laws to protect people, and those laws have been interpreted since the writing of our Constitution really for the protection of people. And there is a difference between federal law and state law. So I don't know about you, but in a way it kind of helped me understand why we're dealing with some of the things that we're dealing with. Why some states, why we can get in our car and drive all the way through Florida, but yet if we cross a state line, we have to show our driver's license and our tag and submit to a test and everything else. You know, it technically based on the Constitution, it's a protection for the people. It goes beyond individual rights in some cases as granted by the court. So that's where it is. And I encourage you to maybe learn a little bit more about that, because I really was under the assumption that these just laws that just keep being interpreted, and some of them are very conveniently applied by the CDC or by your state, but actually they really are truly based on constitutional law for the protection of the people without denying them life, liberty, and their pursuits. So it's a celebration of freedom. Thank God we live in our country that we live in. We have a lot of friends around the world right now that are really, you talk about lockdown and quarantine, it's really, really bad in some countries around the world. And as much as we all want to complain and deal with inconveniences, it really comes down to we are blessed to be in this country. So that's my message for today. I want you to celebrate, embrace freedom, have a wonderful, happy 4th of July. Maybe you get to see fireworks and maybe you don't. But nonetheless, it's a celebration of freedom. So for those of you who are new, and I always have new people on my Facebooks, I have a great health and wellness page I'd like to invite you to. I'm always talking about health and wellness. Also have a great YouTube channel now that's full of a lot of really good information. And I want to tell you about a special event that's coming up Monday night. Many of you know, hi Allison, that I partner with a physician who's been practicing internal medicine for 30 years, and we've been doing a series on health and wellness, and we're going to be doing a Zoom webinar on Monday night. I'll be posting that on my personal page. And this is not for old people. We are going to be talking about cognitive decline. But if you're over the age of 40, you're probably already experiencing cognitive decline. And a lot of us are just experiencing good old-fashioned brain fog because we are quarantined and locked down. But she has spent so much time really researching this topic. And you're going to be surprised at some of the information that you will hear on this webinar. I was surprised. Some of the things that you may be doing as a part of your health regimen, great. But there are some very simple things that affect your cognition that you may or may not understand. You may have heard something, but let's dig a little deeper and see what you really can do about it. Happy Allison, I love it. So I just look for that Zoom announcement on my page on Monday and join us. It'll be about 30 minutes of the most incredible information that you can possibly get for free these days, unless you want to go to the doctor and get all of her resources. So again, I hope the information that I shared this afternoon was helpful and meaningful, and it really is a way to give you some freedom and understand what it is that we are dealing with here and why. And it was really, it kind of was helpful and encouraging for me to know that this is really all the way back to the Constitution, and we, unlike other countries of the world, have a constitution that stands up instead of a dictator that comes in and changes our whole world every few years, or reelects himself every few years. So, hey, Rosalind, if you are coming on late, this is wonderful, inspirational information. So listen to the replay and really take it to heart and use it to really celebrate freedom and enjoy your weekend and stay healthy and celebrate. Bye, everybody. Come join me next Friday. Bye.